We've all heard the buzz about the quantum internet, right? This perfectly secure, unhackable network of the future. But what if I told you its biggest, most critical flaw isn't a bug in the code, but a flaw in us?
I mean, the hype is incredible. Just think about it. A network that isn't just protected by some clever software, but by the fundamental laws of physics themselves. The promise is that it could make hacking, as we know it, a thing of the past. And you've got to ask, right? With cyber attacks going through the roof and this looming threat of quantum computers that could break all our current encryption, it really seems like the answer has to be a big yes. But is it really that simple?
Well, as we're about to find out, the promise of this perfect, inherently secure communication runs headfirst into a problem that no amount of quantum mechanics can fix on its own. And that problem is the problem of trust.
Okay, so first things first, let's break down the problem the quantum internet is actually supposed to solve and what makes its whole approach so revolutionary. Our digital world, for all its wonders, is built on a pretty fragile foundation. We're more connected than ever, which also means we're more vulnerable. And there's this ticking clock in the background, the development of quantum computers. These things will be so powerful they could shatter the encryption that protects basically everything, from your bank account to national secrets.
And that's where the quantum internet steps in. At its very core, it's a totally new kind of network. Instead of sending the usual digital bits, the ones and zeros of classical computing, it sends information using something called qubits. These are based on tiny quantum systems, like the spin of an electron or the polarization of a single photon of light.
And right here, this is the crucial difference. This is the whole game changer. A digital bit, you can copy it 1,000,000 times perfectly, and you'd never know someone was listening in. But a qubit, it's a whole different story. Thanks to the weird and wonderful laws of quantum mechanics, the very act of observing it, of trying to read it, changes it. So any eavesdropper instantly leaves a footprint. That is where the unhackable promise comes from.
But, with any amazing, groundbreaking technology, there's always a catch. And in this case, it's a really big one, and it's rooted in a fundamental limit of physics.
So here's the problem. Those delicate little quantum signals, the qubits, they degrade, and fast. They can't reliably travel much more than 50 kilometers, that's about 30 miles, through a fiber optic cable before the information is just lost. So how on earth are you supposed to build a global network if your signal dies out after just a short hop?
To solve this distance problem, you need repeaters, basically signal boosters. And this shows the two main ways to do it. On the left, you can see what we can build right now, a sort of hybrid network that uses regular, classical, trusted repeaters. Over on the right is the ultimate goal, a fully quantum network with these advanced quantum repeaters.
Let's focus on the here and now, on what we have today. These devices are called trusted repeaters, which sounds really reassuring, right? But that one word, trusted, it's hiding a massive vulnerability. What are we actually being asked to trust?
In this quote, this just nails the flaw. A trusted repeater is a classical digital device. To boost the signal, it has to measure the incoming qubit, which, remember, destroys its special quantum state, and then it creates a brand new one to send on its way. In that one moment, all that unhackable security just vanishes. You simply have to trust that the person or company operating that node isn't secretly spying on your data. The security is no longer in the physics, it's in a handshake.
Okay, I hear you thinking, but the futuristic quantum repeaters will solve all this. Well, not so fast. Turns out, even these super advanced systems have their own vulnerabilities. Research has shown that a clever attacker could fool the device's physical sensors, basically blinding it. The repeater would send a false all-clear signal back to you, all while your data is being siphoned off in the background.
So all of this brings us to the real heart of the issue. You see, the biggest challenge for the quantum internet isn't just about building the technology. It's about building a system that we, as humans, can actually trust. It's a human problem.
To really get a handle on this, we can borrow a model from a couple of researchers, Lewicki and Bunker. They argue that trust isn't just a simple yes or no switch. It's built in stages. It starts with what they call calculus-based trust, which is basically a what's in it for me cost-benefit analysis. Then it moves to knowledge-based trust, where you can actually predict someone's behavior. And the final, deepest level is identification-based trust, where you trust someone because your values are aligned.
Now that might sound a little academic, but an analogy from the research makes this crystal clear. Think about trusting air travel. At first, trust was calculus-based. People did the math and figured flying was safe enough. Over time, that grew into knowledge-based trust, as we learned about pilot training, safety regulations, and maintenance. And today, many of us choose an airline because we align with its values, maybe on customer service or sustainability. That's identification-based trust, and it's the strongest kind there is.
So how does all this apply to the quantum internet? Well, as you can see here, trust isn't just about the physical device itself. We also have to trust the network operators and the government regulators. It's like a three-legged stool. For example, to even get to that first level, calculus-based trust, we need to see the device working without glitches, the operator acting consistently, and the regulator enforcing consistent policies. Building up to that deepest level of trust requires that kind of alignment across the entire system.
What this all means is that the ultimate success of the quantum internet might depend a lot less on physics and a whole lot more on good governance. So the question is, how do we build that?
Thankfully, the research gives us a pretty clear roadmap. First, diversify roles. The company that builds the hardware shouldn't be the same one operating the network, and neither of them should be the one making the rules. Second, you have to empower user checks. Let independent, third-party groups audit the system on behalf of the public. And finally, we need to push for global standards to make sure this powerful new network is open and equitable for everyone.
And this all really boils down to one critical idea. You have to avoid a situation where one single company or one single government controls the hardware, the operations, and the regulation. Why? Because that collapses all the sources of trust into one single point of failure. If you can't trust that one entity, the whole system falls apart. Separating these powers creates a resilient web of checks and balances we can all rely on.
So in the end, the promise of a truly secure quantum internet isn't just a technological challenge, it's a social and political one. The technology is advancing at an absolutely incredible pace. The real question we have to ask ourselves is whether our ability to build trustworthy systems can actually keep up.